WWE's board is investigating alleged multi-million hush-packed payment made by Vince McMahon to a former employee after the pair allegedly had an affair, according to a new report by the Wall Street Journal. WSJ claims World Wrestling Entertainment's 12-member board, where Vince sits as the chair, is investigating the circumstances surrounding the alleged affair and subsequent payment. FYI, WWE is a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. The company's stock closed up nearly 5% on Wednesday, despite the paper's story going public earlier today. Even though they're a public company, Vince holds immense power within the top wrestling promotion. In January of 2022, McMahon, the CEO and chairman of WWE, allegedly agreed to pay a former employee with whom he had an affair with $3 million total over the course of 5 years. The woman, who was allegedly hired as a paralegal in 2019, says McMahon paid $1 million up front and the remaining $2 million was to be separated over 5 years. Vince has been married to his wife Linda since 1966. What's interesting is the WWE board is partially made up of Vince and his family. His daughter Stephanie McMahon, who recently stepped away from the company to spend time with her fam, and her husband Triple H, Paul Levesque, as well as WWE President Nick Khan, are all on the board. The 8 other members have hired a New York City law firm to investigate the situation with VM and the ex-employee. According to the Journal, the preliminary investigation shows McMahon made a payment using personal funds. As for WWE, the company told the Wall Street Journal that they're fully cooperating with the board's investigation and added the relationship with the woman was consensual. This isn't the only time Vince had legal issues or been accused of sexual misconduct. On April 3, 1992, Rita Chatterton, a former referee noted for her stint as Rita Marie in the WWF in the 1980s and for being the first female referee in WWF, possibly in professional wrestling history, made an appearance on Geraldo Rivero's show Now It Can't Be Told. She claimed on the show that on July 16, 1986, McMahon tried to force her to perform oral on him in his limousine, and when she refused, he on February 1, 2006, McMahon was accused of harassment by a worker at a tanning bar in Boca Raton, Florida. At first, the charge appeared to be discredited because McMahon was in Miami for the 2006 Royal Rumble at the time. It was soon clarified that the alleged incident was reported to the police on the day of the Rumble, but took place the day before. On March 25th, it was reported that no charges will be filed against McMahon as a result of the investigation. In April 2022, however, the WWE board began investigating the $3 million hush money settlement that McMahon paid over an alleged affair with a former employee of the company. The investigation also revealed that other non-disclosure agreements related to misconduct claims by other women in the company against McMahon and executive John Laurinaitis. In November 1993, McMahon was indicted in the federal courts after a steroid controversy engulfed the promotion and thus temporarily ceded control of the WWF to his wife Linda. The case went to trial in 1994, where McMahon was accused of distributing steroids to his wrestlers. One prosecution witness was Kevin Wacoles, who had wrestled for the company in 1992 as Nails and had been fired after a violent confrontation with McMahon. Wacoles testified that McMahon had ordered him to use steroids, but his credibility was called into question during his testimony as it made it clear he hated McMahon. In July 1994, the jury acquitted McMahon of the charges. Vince McMahon is often described as the most influential person in professional wrestling history and for having had a large impact on television and American culture. ESPN reporter Sean Assail writes, "As a TV pioneer, he went from selling costume superheroes like Hulk Hogan to dark anti-heroes like Steve Austin. He helped give birth to reality television by making himself a central character, and he launched The Rock into a movie career. No one in television can match his longevity. Few have his instincts for what sells." His daughter, Stephanie McMahon, credits him for creating the term sports entertainment and publicly acknowledging wrestling's predetermined nature, while Thom Lavero of the Washington Times ascribes McMahon with shaping reality television and American politics with sports entertainment. Television executive Dick Ebersol considers McMahon to be the best partner he has worked with and believes he has impacted American culture. McMahon's close friend and former on-screen rival, ex-US President Donald Trump, praised McMahon, stating, "People love this stuff, and it's all because of Vince McMahon and his vision." Jim Cornette called McMahon the most successful promoter ever. Tony Khan, the promoter of rival promotion All Elite Wrestling, considers McMahon to be one of his idols, while former WCW president Eric Bischoff described him as brilliant. Scott Hamon of Vulture Hound magazine both praised and was critical of McMahon, where he credits the legacy of McMahon's success from the birth of Hulkmania to birthing WrestleMania to beat out his rival competitions of Ted Turner's World Championship Wrestling, coming out victorious in the TV ratings in the Monday Night Wars, and later purchasing WCW from Turner Hammond. However, he was also critical of McMahon as well, where he pointed out in the later years that McMahon has seemingly lost the post that he had such a grip on in the late 1990s into the mid-2000s, from seemingly listening to the fans and pushing the talent that got the biggest reaction to just listening to himself. McMahon has therefore taken many wrong turns in the recent years. Former WWE and WCW announcer credited McMahon for the success of WWE's Attitude Era, and that the reason the ideas worked from the WWE creative team of Vince Russo and Ed Ferreira during the Attitude Era was that McMahon was able to control them. McMahon using the ideas that he liked and throwing out the stuff that he didn't. He calls McMahon a marketing genius for attracting women and children to the product, but says it came at the expense of the bell-to-bell action, which is the reason most wrestlers got into the business. Promoter and manager Jim Cornette stated that older wrestlers dislike him for breaking the code by acknowledging that wrestling is predetermined, that fans who only watched during the Attitude Era will remember him well, and that he will be criticized by modern fans for being an old man that presides over a bland, boring product. Jon Moxley, who wrestled for WWE as Dean Ambrose and became WWE champion, left WWE because of their process in 2019 and singled out McMahon for being the problem. A 2020 article in Variety also blamed McMahon for a continuous decrease in ratings over the years and urged investors to hold him accountable. Former WWE wrestler Chris Hero claimed that, "I don't think Vince cares to be in touch with today's wrestling. He's not trying to be in touch." Some wrestlers have expressed outright disdain for McMahon, with Ryback calling him a piece of shit and stating that the world will be a better place when he passes. Former WWE superstar Mike Bennett also expressed disdain for McMahon, stating, "Vince is a greedy, evil man." Former WWE creative writer Vince Russo has been also critical of McMahon, stating, "When you're working for Vince, he owns your life." In 2020, WWE Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts has been critical of McMahon and how McMahon manages the current WWE product with his writing staff. And in 2021, Roberts, reflecting on his time working for McMahon in the WWE, was critical of McMahon for making him get involved in an angle where Jerry Lawler nearly poured a bottle of bourbon into his mouth. Roberts stated, "I thought it was a horrible thing for McMahon to ask me to do. It was cheap and it was disrespectful." McMahon's point of view regarding the tag team wrestling has also been criticized by some industry figures. Arn Anderson and Tom Pritchard think McMahon doesn't like tag team wrestling for financial reasons. Former WWF Tag Team Champion Bret Hart said he kind of single-handedly killed tag team wrestling. Essel also writes that steroids will always be a part of that legacy because of his legal trial and the controversies that arose in the aftermath of Chris Benoit's death. Several of WWE's top wrestlers from WWE's past and present have offered praise for McMahon. Roman Reigns has praised McMahon by stating, "I can't say Vince has ever done me wrong. Regardless of all the fantasy bookers out there, at the end of the day, life's been pretty good for me in the wrestling business, so I have to attribute a lot of that to the relationship that I do have with Vince and the way that he has taken care of me. He takes care of all of us. To have that responsibility and that role is not easy to be a provider and a protector, and that's what he is. I think along with everybody else, I could say that we are all very grateful." One of WWE's top superstars, Seth Rollins, has praised McMahon, stating, "Vince McMahon has been doing this for 20 years longer than I've been alive, so he's got some ideas and he knows things that I just don't know that I have to learn." The Undertaker has also praised McMahon, referencing to Vince as a caring human being, not the monster that people think he is. "I've never taken for granted the special opportunity he gave me. If Vince feels like there's still something out there, I have a place on the roster, then I had no problem doing it." Jim Ross has also stated that people misunderstand Mr. McMahon and Vince McMahon. "It's a lot easier to bitch somebody and knock at them as Mr. McMahon than understand the human being that is Vince McMahon." Drew McIntyre, Kurt Angle, Dwayne Johnson and John Cena praise him as being a father figure to them. Stone Cold Steve Austin says that he loves and respects McMahon, despite having a previous acrimonious relationship at times. Professional wrestling legend and former WWE superstar Chris Jericho has praised McMahon, stating, "He's set in his ways of doing things and they're very successful." Former WWE superstar and current AEW employee Matt Hardy compared McMahon to rival professional wrestling promoter, AEW president and CEO Tony Khan by stating, "Vince is very hard to be able to speak with, whereas Khan is accessible. If you need to address Khan, then you could speak to him, where at WWE, it's quite the opposite with Vince." And then Hardy further compared his two former bosses by also stating, "They're both ridiculously hard workers, there's no doubt about that. Vince works his ass off, no one can take that away from him, but Tony does that as well." And there you guys have it. That's everything going on with Vince McMahon and his situation. Let us know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And also don't forget to subscribe and hit those notifications so that you never miss an interesting video from us.